Hello and welcome to the Federal podcast. I am Aprameya C of the Federal. It is semi-finals time in the ICC T20 World Cup 2024. South Africa face Afghanistan while India take on England. To discuss what to expect in these two games, we have senior cricket writer R Kaushik joining us from the Caribbean islands. Thanks Kaushik for speaking to the Federal.
Hi, Apu. Nice to be back here.
Kaushik, first up, India and South Africa are unbeaten throughout the tournament. What can we expect in these two semi-finals?
Apu, whatever has happened till now has no relevance as we go forward to the last 4 or 5 days of the tournament. Yes, India is unbeaten in 6 matches, one game washed out. South Africa unbeaten in 7 matches. They won all their 7 matches, both in the first stage and in the Super 8s. But it's a fresh start. I mean, it's what happens in those 3.25 hours on Wednesday for South Africa and for India on Thursday. And while it is great to have confidence and form and morale going into a knockout situation, there is no second chance. So you have to be fully switched on. You have to make sure that you follow the same processes that helped you in the first 6, 7 games, knowing fully well that if there is a slip up this time, there is no coming back. So the pressure of a knockout game is totally different. Obviously, it's the same for both sides in a match and all four sides in the semifinals. So everybody starts on the same sort of even keel. What's happened in this sort of last 20, 25 days really has no relevance, no significance going into the last 3 matches of the World Cup.
And India versus England, it's a repeat of last edition semi-final. They back then England won by 10 wickets. Will that play on India's mind or it's a fresh start?
It is a fresh start. That happened a year and a half back. It was in a completely different continent. Some of the personnel have changed. Some of them are still the same. For instance, Josh Butler's opening partner in that 170-run stand was Alex Hales, who's no longer in the English setup. There's Phil Salt, who's an equally destructive opening batter. But India have become a different side as well, just with Bumrah, the way he's bowling now. Kuldeep Yadav didn't play in that World Cup. He's come into this Super 8 stage and made a big difference. We have got some other new players, Shivam Dube, for instance, Rishabh Pant on top of his game. So, well, yes, teams should be aware of the fact that this is what happened when India and England last met in the semi-final of the World Cup in Adelaide. But it will have no bearing on what's going to happen in Providence in Guyana on Thursday.
And there is forecast for rain. Could you touch upon that? Will rain affect the game? And what happens if it's a complete washout since there's no reserve day?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. This last few days of the World Cup, Apu, if you look at it, there was a lot of flack last year when the Asia Cup was held in Sri Lanka, and the India-Pakistan game had a reserve day in the second stage, but no other game had a reserve day. And everyone spoke about the unfairness of that situation, where one game alone had a reserve day and the rest of the games did not have. And here we are in the semi-finals of the World Cup. There is one game which is being played in Port of Spain on Wednesday. That's a night game. That's got a reserve day. India versus England in Guyana on Thursday does not have a reserve day because
Right.
the final is on a Saturday. And why the final is on Saturday, nobody knows. We all know why the final is in the morning because that caters to the Indian primetime television audience. But hitherto, all the World Cup finals have been held on Sundays. So why this is on a Saturday, only the ICC can tell us. Why there is no reserve day? Well, the reserve day is not possible because Friday is supposed to be the travel day. So what they have done is, in a bid to try and give as much opportunity as possible for the game to be completed in the event of rains, they've extended play by 4.5 hours after the scheduled close, which is a full 270 minutes. As things stand now, the match starts at 10:30 local time. It's supposed to get over at 1:40 local time. So you have 270 minutes after that, which translates roughly to about 6:10, 6:15 local time for the match to be completed. If you're not able to get a 5 over-a-side match, or if you're not able to get even the super over in, then India will qualify automatically for the final. In case there is an abandonment of the semi-final, India will qualify for the final because they finished on top of their group in the Super 8 stage. India top Group 1, England finished second in Group 2. So by virtue of having occupied the top slot in Group 1, India will go through to the final. Let's hope for the sake of cricket, for the sake of millions of followers, for the sake of this World Cup, that we don't come to that the game is decided on the field of play. The forecast is not great for Thursday. It is overcast today in Guyana. It's supposed to be much of the same for tomorrow. And as of now, there's a 70% chance of rains during large periods of Thursday. So it looks as if we would have an interrupted game, but because there is so much time, there's a good chance that we might get 5 overs at least in per side to have a game of cricket.
Okay, talking about India's strengths, you mentioned earlier about with Bumrah and the way Rohit Sharma played against Australia, attacking the bowlers from right from the go. So will he be key again? And Kohli's form as well. Could you elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, Rohit, if you look at the last World Cup in India, for instance, the 50 over World Cup, before the tournament, Rohit had laid down the gauntlet and he wanted his team to play in a particular way. That particular way involved going hard at the bowling, of course, being mindful of the quality of the bowling, being mindful of the conditions. But the first mode of approach was attack, and that is something that he himself set the tone for in almost every game, including in the final, which India lost to Australia. So there was no surprise that that is the same tack he's adopted in this tournament. The pitches in New York really did not encourage that kind of batting. But once India have come to the Caribbean, the pitches have been better for batting. They've been slower, but they've not been dangerous. The bounce has been sort of true, which has allowed players to hit through the line. And even in the match against Bangladesh, for instance, he only made 23. Rohit made 23, but he took only 11 balls and he made a statement of authority, of intent. And against Australia, he took that to a higher level, to a supremely higher level. His assault on Mitchell Stark in the third over. We must remember that in the previous over, Virat Kohli had got out for his second 0 and 4 innings. And for Kohli to cut loose in the third over, hit 4 sixes of Stark. And some of they were the outstanding shots. Yes, there was one top edge which flew to third man for six, but there were two cover drives. And then there was this monstrous shot over mid on, over long on, which traveled 96 meters. And he was on top of his game. It was some of the shots were out of the world, Apu. You had to be there to just enjoy the stroke play. There was power, yes, but there was also great timing. There was grace, there was elegance. And like Arshdeep Singh so beautifully put it at the post-match press conference, it was almost as if Rohit was hitting the ball with love and was traveling deep and long into the stands. And that was a great sight for Indian fans. Maybe you would have thought that 92 deserved to be converted into 100, but that's not how the game goes. Rohit is a great believer that individual milestones don't matter. That's eventually the contribution towards the team that counts. And that is something that Virat Kohli will be aware of. We spoke about Kohli's form. And in this Indian batting order, he's the only one in the top six who's not made a significant contribution. 6 innings, only 66 runs. His strike rate is 100. And he's batted un-Kohli-like. Yesterday also, for instance, in the game against Australia, he played a couple of good shots against Hazelwood, but it went straight to the fielder. So you could see that the anxiety was building. And maybe 9 times out of 10, he would not have played the pull shot that he attempted against Josh Hazelwood. It was a great catch by Tim David. But then when things don't go your way, they don't really go your way, do they? So,
Right.
yeah, but the one good thing is that India have reached where they are now without a significant contribution from Kohli. You would like to think that batsman of his caliber is due a big score. And what better occasion to get it than the semi-final of World T20 World Cup?
Right, right. And I want to get your thoughts on Afghanistan. That's been the story of the tournament so far, the way they have punched above their weight and reached the semi-finals.
Yes, Apu, definitely. I mean, you can't, like you said, it has been the story of the tournament. But the one thing that we need to keep in mind is that it's not really an upset if you really, I know they're ranked 10th in the world and they have not shown a great deal of consistency, but everybody knows that T20 format is something that they revel in, that their mindset is sort of naturally suited to T20s, that the aggression is their mantra. And they are very good at defending targets, as we have seen twice in this World Cup, both against Australia and against Bangladesh in that famous victory that took them to the last four. They have this wonderful bunch of spinners led superbly by Rashid. Rashid Khan is one of the great superstars of our modern game, especially in the T20 format. And I was a little bit surprised that he did not get the Player of the Match award in the victory against Bangladesh. He also made a crucial 19 runs out of 115 for five. He had 3 sixes towards the back end of the innings, which gave his bowlers, including himself, something to bowl with. And they have become a team that are not just dangerous, but they are a team that are very, very good in their own right. And this is not a victory that was achieved this is not a semi-final appearance that has come about by chance. Yes, they got badly beaten by India in the first Super 8 game, but they were comfortable winners against Australia. And the manner in which they defended a low score, despite often bowling with a wet ball in the sort of knockout games, if you like, against Bangladesh, was outstanding. It's a great story for the people of Afghanistan. It's not a great time for them, and so the cricket team has given them plenty to celebrate. You could see the crowds that came out everywhere celebrating this victory, which you know how much it means to them, that
Right.
in their time of stress and in their time of strife, that there is something that they can look forward to and something to cheer. And they will be the sort of universal favorites, if you like. Can they win 2 more matches and go all the way? I don't know for sure. But do they deserve to be in the semifinals? Of course, most certainly.
Right. Kaushik, one last question. Would you like to pick favorites in these two games, or you would leave it to the contest to be decided on the feed and let's see what happens?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Apu. It's very difficult. It's very dangerous to get
Right.
into this favorite picking mode in T20s. You would like to think India, but you can't be sure. South Africa versus Afghanistan. Neither side has been in the semi-finals before. One of them will be in the final for the first time. There will be a few nerves. The Port of Spain is a surface that sort of helps the spinners a little bit. So who knows, if Afghanistan bat first, make 150, 160, 170, then it is right up their alley, because they're a team that likes to have a total on the board and defend it with their spinners and with their fast bowlers. I mean, one of the things we have forgotten in this tournament, or which has been overlooked in this tournament, is the contribution of the Fazal Haq Farooqi,
Right.
who's the leading wicket taker of the tournament with 16 wickets. And Naveen Ulhaq, the player of the match against Australia against Bangladesh for his 4-wicket haul. So now the medium pace is also beginning to pull their weight for Afghanistan. If Afghanistan get off to a decent score on the board, 160, let's say, then probably they will fancy the chances against South Africa. India versus England, well, the heart says India on the basis of what we have seen in this tournament. The mind says India, but you know where England are coming from. They are the defending champions for a reason. And India's track record in the knockout stages of global events have not been extremely encouraging in the last, let's say, a decade or so. So that's anybody's game.
Right. Thanks, Kaushik.